Alrighty, guys, good morning. Welcome to the Saturday morning. And it's the last little part of our how to look at scripture and interpret it. So we said on Monday, let the verse speak for itself. We said use the context to determine the meaning, use clear passages to interpret unclear ones. Yesterday we said, what does this teach us about who God is? And then what does this text teach us about who we are? So today, it's really, what does this text teach us about who we are? And so I'd like to read 1 Samuel chapter 18 from verse 28. It says, when Saul realized that the Lord was with David and his daughter Michal loved David, Saul became still more afraid of him, and he remained his enemy the rest of days. The Philistine commanders continued to go out to battle, and as often as they did, David met them with more success than the rest of Saul's officers, and his name became well known. And so this text, if I just had to quickly run some of those filters, what does this text teach us about who God is? Well, God's still with David. Nothing's changed. Saul hates him. The situation on the broader front, David is doing incredibly well. He's now married to the king's daughter and all this stuff. And he's doing really well in battle. But Saul still hates him, but the Lord is with him. And it keeps reminding us of that God is near. If God makes a promise to us, he's near. And it's important to remember this, because I think for some of us at the moment, we do think that sometimes when the environment changes, it means that God's changed. But this reminds us that whether David was out, with the sheep, or whether he was out killing Goliath, or he was leading Saul's armies against the Philistines, the Lord was with him. And no matter what your situation is today, whether you are at home, whether you are out at work, if you're part of the essential services, if you're going to the shops today, whatever it is, the Lord is with you. That's God's heart to us. It's his promise. But secondly, what does this text teach us about who we are? And I'd like to talk about that just quickly. The thing about Saul in this is, it's quite sad. It says he became more afraid of David, and he remained his enemy the rest of days. Now, that was only one way. David didn't consider Saul his enemy. David still served Saul faithfully. He considered Saul his king. But Saul, because of his insecurity and all those weaknesses that he had, considered David to be his enemy. And I'd like to talk just quickly this morning about picking our battles, picking the right battles. See, Saul, if he'd zoomed out from what was going on, he would have realized that David was the answer to prayer for him. Because what king doesn't want a commander who's going to smash your enemies? Of course you want that. And on the second hand, what father doesn't want their daughter to marry the dashing young hero, who's saving the day and who loves God? I mean, David is an answer to prayer with regards to Saul with regards to marrying his daughter. These are the very things he was looking for. But because of his insecurity, because he picked the wrong battle, he looked at someone, and because of his weakness, he got so sucked in, and he thought that was the thing he was meant to fight. He actually missed out on God's answer to the things that he probably wanted in the broader sphere of his life. And that's the thing unfortunately, sometimes about getting sucked in and picking the wrong battles. That when we do pick the wrong battles and we're fighting the wrong stuff, that we can actually miss God's answer to our prayers. And God answers our prayer right under our noses, and we don't even see it happen. I think the other thing about picking our wrong battles is we end up alienating those closest to us. I think, what are the wrong battles at the moment? Well, the government is not our enemy at the moment. This is something that they are doing before God as best they can to try and, make a way for the country at the moment. They aren't our enemy at the moment. And see people spewing a whole bunch of stuff out on social media and on the broadcast platforms. Picking the wrong battle. You're wasting unnecessary energy. I've just taken to deleting when people send me forwards on WhatsApp and those kind of things. I just delete them, because you are giving yourself into the wrong battle. We are expending energy on the wrong stuff. And when the time comes that we really need to fight the real battles, and I think the real battles at the moment are things like fear and people's concern for the future, poverty, and people with lost purpose, and relational strife where people are locked up together and it's getting tricky and it's scratchy between us. Those are the things that we should be lining up at the moment and saying, God, we need you to intervene. You see, I think it's also the way you fight. One of the ways you can identify whether it's the right battle or not. The right battle is a battle that you fight in prayer. The wrong battle is a battle that I fight in my own strength. And I fight with my own emotion. And I think it's really helpful for us to go and just filter through some of the things that are causing us angst in the battles that we are fighting in our life at the moment. When I have a look at it, I can realize sometimes I'm giving energy to a bunch of stuff I shouldn't. This is the last thought with this. When fighting the wrong battle, the chances are sometimes we can be fighting God himself. And Saul didn't even see that. Well, he did, I guess, because he said when he saw that God was with David and that his daughter loved David, he became his enemy for the rest of his life. And I think that's an incredibly dangerous place to be in, where I'm fighting God himself, because that's a battle I'm never, ever going to win. And friends, it's helpful to step back sometimes and see the purposes and plans of God in our life and stop fighting against it. I've chatted to a few friends in the last few days who've really been in a tricky space, and they've just said they were so angst and wound up, and when they took a step back, they realized God was at work. Not that God's caused coronavirus or caused lockdown or caused any of this stuff, but God has used different situations to unearth stuff inside of us. That amidst all the busyness, when Joburg is super busy and there's so much stuff going on, sometimes in the background, our stuff going on in our heart is hidden. And now all of a sudden, while we're at home, it starts to come to the fore, and I see this stuff inside of my heart, and I feel a bit like a hollow man, and I'm frustrated and I'm angry. And God's allowing this to show us what's really inside of our hearts. And instead of fighting God in that, we can submit to him and say, Lord, whatever you need to do. David was God's answer to prayer for Saul, and Saul considered him his enemy. I think it's a really dangerous place for anyone to get to. So hopefully this has been helpful. Can't believe it's already the end of the week already. Guys, this lockdown is flying along. Really looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow all together in our next, our 4th Sunday meeting on lockdown. Should be awesome.